G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Super Rugby, round 12, Reds versus the Brumbies. Bit of improvement for the Brumbies, to be fair. Obviously last week against, against the Hurricanes was probably one of the worst, if not the worst, I have ever seen for the Brumbies that I can remember in terms of performance. This week, definitely more energy, more intent, better in terms of tackle completion, but still, one of the things that I was really disappointed for the Brumbies because I really felt that the team had a little bit of something that could have really allowed them to win this game, convincingly claim this victory, and they just wasn't able, they just really didn't do anything with it, right? So there was one thing that a lot of you guys might have noticed in the second half. The Brumbies was able to pick the Reds lineout apart. There was a period where the Brumbies picked up 4 lineouts in a row, right? Whether that's just the Reds not communicating well, or whether the Brumbies has actually, cracked the code on the calls, or maybe they're just timing it better. Nick Frost was just doing a great job. Whatever reason it is, there was a clear, definitive advantage for the Brumbies in the lineout, in the Reds lineout throw, in the Reds defensive lineout throws. So this is something that literally, if you had this advantage and you told this to the South Africans, they will literally, Rasmus will literally cream himself if he had this sort of dominance in lineouts against an opposition, right? The one of the things that the South Africans like to do is to ping you inside your own half with the kicking game, right? Just, maybe just grabber, crossfields, just putting that into your 22 and make you exit, right? Make you do your lineouts at exit. And if they had a team that could consistently steal the opposition's lineouts, this is literally like a wet dream come true for the Springboks. And yet the Brumbies was not able to leverage this into any meaningful game plan. And that is the problem. That is the problem with the Brumbies right now, right? When you actually have something good, right? Whether the players don't have the agency to identify that something that we're doing good, and don't have the ideas on how to maximize that little bit of advantage that you got into something that can win you the game. They go back to the basics. Go back to the thing that I always do. One pass, crash ball. One pass, crash ball. One pass, crash ball. In fact, very slow one pass, crash ball. When the Brumbies sped the game up, right, early in the second half, when the Reds relinquished, learn the playbook from the front Waratahs, kick the penalty right away out of the game in the second half, and then relinquish the momentum, all the oranges that you've eaten at halftime, the sugary energy, still running events, just allow the Brumbies to run all that energy at you. I conceded 2 tries, converted tries, back to back, and the Brumbies, outside of those periods where the Brumbies were actually really crisp, and if you go back and watch some of the tries there, it was just like pick and goes, heads up rugby, pick and goes, and just physicality, right? And then just decisive fast ball around the breakdowns. Outside of that, 2 tries that was scored for the Brumbies, just really haven't found that speed or urgency anywhere else for the remainder of the game. Now, I want to also show you something as well, right? I talk about this almost every week. The Brumbies line out more, right? The line out more, one of the weapons the Brumbies always had. There's only one attempt for the Brumbies this week at a Maul, and we'll watch this together, and let's just get a look at how this Maul is going, right? And this is to be fair, the Brumbies actually scored a try here, but the Maul itself is what we're looking for, and let's see how this is going, right? Uncontested receives the ball. The Reds may have engaged a little bit too early, right? But referee says it's okay. Nick Frost, right? If you just go back a little bit, Nick Frost actually failed to feed the ball safely under his players. So his players, Reimer is supposed to get the ball, it's the way for the ball to come down below the waist and then engage onto the Maul and rip the ball from Nick Frost. He's actually engaged too early. So the ball, you can see here, he's actually above the player's head. So the players have already engaged and start pushing, but the ball is still above them in the heads. Reimer noticed this. He reaches up and rips the ball down and out of the hands. You can see that he's ripped the ball down and out of the hands of, of his own player in a really awkward position when the team loses momentum at this moment as well. Ryan Olligan comes in. Not Ryan. Knox Nolligan comes in. He gets the ball out. And here, you can just see. And here's the problem, right? You've committed yourself to the Maul. The Maul isn't going anywhere, right? So you have two options. You either start pushing and get it going, or you get the ball out quickly and you know, make a move, right? Lonergan, you can see here, he's not even pushing, right? His shoulders detached, not even pushing. His brother is just like, okay, whatever. It's not like, you can see he's not even pushing. His hands just, you know, shoulders completely detached. So like nothing is done here to advance the Maul, and no decision is made to get the ball out sooner, right? So this Maul, what does it achieve? Other than, you know, committing some of the forwards into holding this position. You know, really, it's you know, if I was to give this Maul out of 10, I'd probably give it like 4 out of 10, right? Like, you gotta be, you either have to push a bit harder and try to get extra commitments like Wilson into the Maul, or you get the ball out faster if you decided that isn't going anywhere because your hooker isn't even pushing, and try to explore, try to, you know, speed up the game a little bit and try to get your catch your opponents a little bit off guard, or, you know, a little bit off guard or disorganized, right? Didn't do either of that, and just kind of like, yep, let's just, you know, let's just get the ball out and let's have another look. Yep. Right. The Brumbies actually followed this through for a try. You know, there's a pretty good run here. What's his name? Philo Ai, and then the pick and go. Quick ball breakdown. Work like a charm. Leading into a try, but outside of this, you know, if we just randomly click a section with the Brumbies attacking, we can see like the predictable style of attack the Brumbies commits, and the slow breakdown. Look how slow this, you know, the slow breakdown. Like, he's gonna box kick here. Okay, so he's box kicking. It's just really, yeah, I think that's really what's really hurting the Brumbies, right? You know, see here, very predictable one pass crash. I'm guessing another one pass crash next. Yep. Okay, and then what's next? Okay, the halfback's committed to the clean out. Very, very slow ball. Another one pass crash. Right, despite... Yeah. Okay. Oh, they actually lost the ball, right? Despite setting up a pot, and they still lost the ball. Because... Why? Because you're too slow. Because you're too slow at the breakdown to get the ball out. You're too indecisive what you wanted to do. And what you end up doing is too predictable. All right, even though you had a pot set up, the Reds was able to spoil it and get the turnover. So yeah, there's a lot of work the Brumbies, you know, in the Brumbies team to really try to turn this around. But luckily for the Brumbies, they do only have 3 pretty easy rounds left. All the teams they're gonna be playing are lower ranked than them. So they got the Western Force next week, the Waratahs the week after. I think they're gonna buy somewhere in between as well. And then the Monarchs will still go in the final rounds, and the bye somewhere in there. So Western Force, I think, and then a bye, and then Waratahs, and then Moana Pacifica. Right? It's pretty easy run home for them. And since they're at 6, you know, most likely they're gonna win all 3. If not, maybe lose 1. Maybe to the Western Force is the only thing that I think probably could, you know, challenge them for the win. And then they you know, they will be, you know, probably close to, you know, 30, 35 points at that point. And then the team that can catch up to them, which is the Highlanders, they've got pretty difficult run home. They got Waratahs, maybe they'll win that one. And then Chiefs and Chiefs and Hurricanes, both going to be losses. So the Highlanders, even if they, you know, they're probably only going to get 5 points. So the Brumbies pretty much have to just win like Moana Pacifica is already enough to secure them in the top 6. Even if they lose to both the Waratahs and the Western Force, which I think they probably should win at least one of the 2. Maybe, hopefully not the Waratahs, but they will probably win one of them. The Jura might have a chance to get in top 6, but Jura has a pretty difficult run as well, especially considering the Jura's away games aren't that great. So they probably win against the Waratahs at home. Away at Western Force, in Perth, it's going to be difficult just because of the time zone difference. And Reds in Brisbane might be a bit of a showdown. Uh, so they might be able to, yeah, might be able to upset that, but I think the Drua has to put out an upset in one of these away games to maybe have a chance of surpassing the Brumbies, because Brumbies has 5 points. That's a bonus point there. Not just winning, but they need to win with bonus points as well to try to surpass Brumbies. So Brumbies are looking pretty safe at top 6, to be honest, despite the recent poor run and the 3-match losing streak running as well. So the Reds very decisive in terms of taking the penalty goals. One thing I did like about the Reds is that after taking the penalties, other than obviously the first one in the second half, the players stay committed to not switch off, right? And they made the decision really quickly too. A lot of times teams kind of would go for they sit down, have a bit of a meeting, right? Let's have all the vice captains come in and everybody's input. Do we want to take 3? And then they take and then the kicker takes another, 45 seconds, the maximum allocated time to kick the goal. And then they're all kind of taking a breather and resting and just really let that adrenaline run out of their bodies. I think that's a lot of mistakes for the penalty, for when teams do take the penalties, because they mentally wanted a break, right? The Reds did a really good job to not really let that mental break getting into them when they did take these penalties. I did notice it was really snappy, okay, penalty, and then it was just bang, and then off, and then suddenly the kickoff is happening, right? It's not there's no massive delays in the decision making, no massive delays in kicking the penalty itself, and then everybody's still switched on and committed to the course. And I really like that. I really like how the Reds deals with the slump that you kind of get from after taking a penalty, the dump of adrenaline after you kick a penalty, and then just manage to stay committed to the game. And the Brumbies, they did get a bit of momentum from a penalty in the second half, but mostly the Reds did really, really well to wrestle that momentum away from the Brumbies. Salaka Lotto was amazing, outstanding again this game. Fraser McRae did really, really good at the breakdown. So yeah, despite the lineout being one thing I think the Reds really need to work on, they really dominated the physical areas around the rocks, slow the ball down when they need it, and then got the turnovers when they picked their opportunities. And did just really, really well to win this game. Match stats of the game: 3 tries apiece, 345 run meters for the Reds, 368 for the Brumbies. We've got 141 carries for the Brumbies, only 120 for the Reds. 11 turnovers conceded for the Reds, 16 for the Brumbies. So both teams have run pretty similar amounts, but the Brumbies got turned over a lot more times. Tackle count: 193 for the Reds, 22 missed tackles, 142 tackles for the Brumbies, 22 missed tackles for the Brumbies. So missed tackle percentage a little bit higher there for the Brumbies. Kicks in play: 30 for the Reds, 29 for the Brumbies. 100% goal kicking for the Reds. There was one missed goal from Ed Mid, 50 meters out. The Brumbies tried to kick one to just maybe get a losing bonus point. Couldn't quite get there in the end. 813 kick meters for the Reds, 795 for the Brumbies. Lineouts: 13 for the Reds. 4 lineout lost pretty much in a row in the second half against the Reds. Brumbies 14 lineouts, only 1 loss. The score was pretty even, nice and steady. Neither teams were up to much of a shenanigans in terms of boring in. It's I think that is, the referee has been hammering down a little bit. The Reds has been a team that's been guilty of going in a bit of an angle on the looser side, and neither team were really, the scrum was, I think was pretty even overall. 6 penalties conceded for the Reds, 8 against the Brumbies overall. So both teams are very low penalty count, less than 10. So quite good there for both coaches in terms of tackling, in terms of discipline, right? So let's do a quick summary of the game. The Brumbies actually came out really firing. They kicked a 50-22 almost right away. The new law came into play. They basically passed the ball back into their own half and then kicked it forward for 50-22. I don't think it should be allowed, but that's a new law. So they kicked the 22. They went for the line out. A dummy Maul, a quick crash ball center field, a bunch of pick and goes, and eventually Lockie Shaw, I think his name is Lockie Shaw. Pick and dry went in for the try. 7 points to 0 for the Brumbies. Literally from the kickoff, the Reds gets themselves back into the game. There was, I think there was a penalty. The Reds went bunch of penalties. Went for the line out. They went for the Maul. The Maul was stopped. Bunch of crash, and then Salakai Loto pick and drive, the big physical carry for the try. He was more like a crash ball, actually. A short pop crash ball. 7 points to 7. 24 minutes. The Reds gets a penalty. Snappy decision. Taking the 3. After this, the Brumbies try to wrestle the momentum back. And then they just kind of like, was a bit of surprising. There was like people, I think it was Muirhead slapping the ball out of halfback's hand and just like relinquishing some of the momentum and giving away silly penalties. And then eventually, 38 minutes in the game, the Reds had a scrum penalty. They, what is it? They had a scrum inside the Brumbies half. They built a bit of pressure, and there was a penalty for offside. And then there was a little grabber kick through from Kalani Thomas, and then Josh Fluke ran through and grounds the ball in a beautiful little kick game. 17 points to 7, the halftime score. Second half starts 2 minutes in. Reds kicks 3, taking a page from the Waratahs, and then got punished 2 tries. Right after this was kicked, kickoff. Wilson immediately drops the ball. Brumbies had the scrum, bunch of crash balls, and Valentini rammed over for the try. 20 points to 14. 54 minutes. We just saw that one. The Brumbies more like, whatever attempt that you call that. There was a crash ball, pick and drive, and then a try from Fairly, what was his name? Fairly went in for the try. 21 points to 20. The Brumbies ticks themselves ahead. After this, the Brumbies are actually looking quite good. 4 lineouts stolen, pretty much in this early second half period. 60 minutes, there was a penalty against the Brumbies. The Reds tap and go. Lots of pressure. Eventually, Sewu Uru crashed over for the try. 27 points to 21. 66 minutes, there was a scrum penalty to the Reds. Like a long shot from Vola goes in for the Reds. 30 points to 21. And after this, the Brumbies looking a bit out of ideas. There was some silly kicking. And and like we saw, crash ball, left, back to the right, back to the left. Turnover, oops. It was very, it was a little bit uninspiring to say the least. And final score 30 points to 21. The Brumbies did try to get a losing bonus point. Attempted a 50-meter long-range kick. Edmund had the legs, to be honest, which is good. Didn't quite get the accuracy, but the fact that he had the distance, that was, I would consider that, I would consider that a promising thing that they can keep working to improve on. So thanks for watching. And he had a fair bit like over us, so it's not like he definitely has more length than Damien McKenzie. Let me tell you that. D-Mac, if he wants to kick this one, he will probably just get across the bar. I don't even think Bowden Barrett can kick this one. Jordy Barrow definitely punt this one through. So Edmund had a bit of distance left, but couldn't quite get the accuracy. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Like and comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you guys next week. I might do a UFC review this weekend. Depends if I can find a replay. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good one. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.